The culture is absolutely...
The gut ain't run the damn calling both games.
I hate calling Washington the Commanders. It feels so sterile and hollow. Kind of like the team itself these days. Then again, never mind the previous thought. A wave of veterans now get to deal with the real-life shit of being cut. Landon Collins, Matt Ioannidis, DeShazer Everett, and Eric Flowers? Fat that needs to be trimmed off the cap. They need to bring in the next golden calf to slaughter on FedEx Field's vaunted turf. A man who the NFC East knows all too well. A once holy deity that has been resurrected with the sewage leaking out of stadium pipes everywhere. That's correct. Carson Wentz. Now Philadelphia will continue to reap the benefits of drafting him second overall. With how he shit the bed in critical situations for Indianapolis, this is almost as sweet as winning the Super Bowl for them. Even better, Washington not only took on the entirety of his bloated contract, but they traded legitimate assets for him. 2 third-round picks. For a quarterback Indy was desperately trying to get rid of. Nice panic move, boys. I can't wait for Wentz to pad his stats only to somehow fail miserably when he's needed to perform in some matter of competence. Everyone learns somehow. Perhaps this is why Anheuser-Busch pulled out of sponsoring the team.
Washington Commanders select Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State.
Kind of perplexed as to why Washington ended up trading down in the first place if they were going to go wide receiver with this pick. Nothing against Jahan Dotson, I liked a lot of what I saw out of him at Penn State, but why not just take Olave if you were thinking wideout? Is Dotson better complement Terry McLaurin? McLaurin is still a commie long-term? Maybe it's a plan B in case everything goes to shit. And by everything going to shit, I mean Dan Snyder trying to pull a fast one on not only the IRS, but the NFL owners themselves. He's alleged of pulling an Arthur Anderson and having separate accounting books. If this has legs, he's so fucked. And I will publicly celebrate his demise like it should have been done 20 years ago. This team is as hopelessly bland as that pathetic rebrand they had. Sometimes I wish the commies would be exiled to living on a yacht. It's what Comrade Snyder would want. He's doing it to avoid being subpoenaed for his past damn good culture. In fact, take a look at the damn good culture he's built up at training camp for yourself. You'll get a nice view nobody's showing up to it. Would you want to see Carson Wentz in his last chance before he somehow chokes up in a key game again? I know some people about an hour or so up the road that would. There would be a defense led by Chase Young, but he's out for the first few weeks. Although he might be sacrificed to FedEx Field. It's relentless in its cruelty. And it matches Washington in its desire to kill anyone who enters. The real sleeper is Dan Snyder going scorched earth if the NFL tells him to fuck off. The secrets that man knows might make Epstein look like Fred Rogers. Even with the teams that are choosing to blow it up and start from scratch, there is still plenty of intrigue with the NFC. So many teams desperate to win a championship or go far into January. And even more trying to make a name for themselves. The NFC East hasn't had a repeat champion in years. So I'm going to maintain that narrative and pick Philly to win it. The NFC North is still Green Bay's to lose, but they're slowly losing grip on their stronghold. The NFC South has a few suitors, but the Bucs are still too loaded to really fail unless they get injured to hell and back. The NFC West? Huge question mark, but I think the Rams are still the team to beat. But what about the wild cards? It's tough to choose, there are so many good options here. In this case, I'm choosing the Niners, Saints, and Vikings. Yes, the Vikings. I think people are sleeping on them. Then again, we've said this about them before, only for them to fall apart. Sorry about that, Minnesota. Welcome to the Carson Wentz conundrum. It's an absolute roller coaster. And not one of those fun ones. Think those old rickety wooden death traps that are rotting in an abandoned theme park. First, you'll go up the hill. You'll get a smooth ride from Carson headed down. Probably a couple of loop-de-loops, a few touchdowns, lead by multiple scores. All good, a nice thriller to get the blood pumping. Then in the middle, you'll get his Jekyll-forming Carson Wentz. Back-to-back interceptions on terrible passes. The coaster itself goes off the rails. It's grinding around on several different objects, flying across the theme park. Jacksonville takes the lead, and you're about to die. Shortly thereafter, Carson Wentz somehow saves the damn day by Deus Ex Machina. Deep, beautiful spirals to Terry McLaurin. Guiding the offense in the coaster for another amazing catch by Jahan Dotson. Gently come to a stop at the entrance of the park, somehow alive with the win. Thank you for riding with Carson Wentz. We'll See you for the same damn heart attack next week, Washington. The young and hungry Lions are eager to assert themselves on the NFL savannah. Harkening back to the days of organized labor, Detroit proceeded to seize the means of production from the commies. Aiden Hutchinson leading his comrades to topple the oppressive shackles of a team projected to be pretty bad this year. Exposing Washington's supposedly mighty defense is a hollow shell rife with corruption. It may not be much to the rest of us, but for the Lions, this is a groundbreaking victory. Or at least it would be if they had a defense that could hold Wentz's wild ride to some semblance of limitation in the second half. I would be worried about Detroit blowing the lead, but Washington and game clocks are concepts foreign to each other. The only lesson to learn here is that Carson Wentz and garbage time are a deadly mix. The Lions should learn not to make every game a heart attack. It will benefit them in the future. I, for one, am all in favor of simply allowing Philly to annex FedEx Field for their own. They do a better job playing there as well. What is defense? If you're a commie, you don't have enough manpower to simply throw waves of cannon fodder at the Eagles. Instead, Jalen Hurts and company will destroy this paper tiger faster than you can hand Jack Del Rio a pink slip. Carson Wentz had a chance at revenge against the team that cast him off, and he succeeded at bringing endless joy to the fans of the Eagles. His offensive line merely proved them all right by giving up 9 sacks. Another easy breeze of a win is Philly's reward. How's Ron Rivera as the new age Mike Shanahan working out for you, Washington? His seat better be searing right now. The relentless march of Cowboy might continues without Dak under center. Nothing has disappointed me more as an NFL fan than Washington's much ballyhooed elite defense. It's showing as much power and might as the Republican Guard did during the Gulf War. As they implode, Cooper Rush has done his job. And that is win. He's taken Dallas from the brink of despair to maintaining pace for the division lead. Not to mention the Cowboys' defense has been clamping down on their opponents. Although that's relatively easy to do with Carson Wentz turning into Mr. Hyde for most of the game. It may be too early to confirm, but Dak is apparently aiming for a return next week. Even if he doesn't, Dallas is in good hands with Cooper Rush. Imagine saying that a month ago. The age-old question has always been, what would happen if an unstoppable force met an immovable object? In this case, the unstoppable force is Tennessee trying desperately to give the game away despite all opposing efforts. The immovable object is Washington. It's simply Washington as a franchise. No further explanation needed. What it equals is a level of giving as if they were being audited by the IRS. True, both teams would put up points, but you have to make it convincing lest you be arrested for tax evasion. In this case, Derrick Henry is rumbling past his opponents with speed in an effort to mask other offensive inefficiencies. And Carson Wentz continues to frustrate us all by making the outstanding throws that made him a rising star in the league. The lead is traded back and forth, emphasizing the spirit of giving that both teams embrace. Each wants the other to have the win, but they both refuse. They're too nice to finish the enemy off. Unfortunately for Tennessee, the lead is theirs on Washington's final drive. But they'll gladly allow the commies to retake Stalingrad with ease, giving up endless yardage and taking critical penalties to keep them in the game. Washington has made it to the goal line with a chance to win. But here is where their heart grew 3 sizes.
Wentz, quick pass, and it's intercepted!
Carson Wentz delivers a frustrating interception right to the hands of a Titan. They have successfully gifted Tennessee a win they tried desperately to give away. Sorry, boys, you're stuck with this victory. You didn't deserve it, but someone has to take it home. You can resell it on eBay or something. I want my 3 hours back. I was watching it in passing while enjoying glorious hockey being played, but goddammit, this game was a waste of my time. The only positive to seeing it unfold was hearing Al Michaels slowly wither and die as it went on. It was as bad as advertised. Hopefully we'll get a good Thursday game the same time Justin Fields doesn't completely miss on an easy throw. Meanwhile, Carson Wentz is simulating his career trajectory by throwing everything away. But then you have Brian Robinson. Dude went from being shot trying to fend off a carjacking less than 2 months ago to starting at running back for Washington. Him scoring a touchdown was one of the only bright spots of this game. How else would you tolerate the constant fuck-ups by both teams? Chicago self-destructing so badly that the commies somehow have the lead. But then again, the one thing that always fucks them up is the human element. Joey Sly is an insanely inaccurate kicker, and Washington's defense is insanely overrated. Chicago somehow has a chance to win with seconds left. Crazy, I know.
Fake toss to the end zone, and it is juggled. Did he catch it?
Fucking up the 4th down conversion because you didn't have possession at the goal line. That's a fitting way to end this shitfest. Perhaps this is the dirt that Dan Snyder was talking about when he speaks of taking the league down with him. Do it, Dan. We will dance in the flames of chaos. We all dreamed of a world where the Packers lose to Washington this week. The joy and laughter it would bring would warm us during the winter freeze. And being embarrassed by Taylor Heineke. Oh, what a glorious sight. Too bad no one really thought it would happen. Green Bay, meet your red scare. You tried to be General MacArthur and invade mainland DC? Washington's going to throw everything they have at you to retreat back to South Korea. Nefarious elements have invaded their ranks. Or at least they think that's the case, because every crutch the Packers have relied upon over the years has been nowhere to be found. Aaron Rodgers is falling apart. The offense refuses to utilize their running backs until it's far too late. The only receivers getting attention are Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb. And Cobb's now hurt. I'd say throw the ball to others, but they'll bounce and drop like 50-50 checks. The only production is on the defense. They're saving their asses with 2 separate defensive TDs. Wait, 1 defensive TD. The other got called back because of... Is this a penalty? Perhaps Dan Snyder had dirt on the reffing crew or something, but that doesn't matter. What does is Green Bay ready to prep their nukes. Past failures could be blamed on special teams, or defense, or McCarthyism, or even lazy management. It's the entire offense. That was your safety valve. And thanks to Heineke doing just enough to win, we get to recreate Winston Churchill's call to Hitler after Stalingrad. You lost to the commies.
You blew it, boy. You really blew it.
The Sam Ellinger era has begun in Indianapolis. It doesn't have the same aura as their previous temporary QB reigns, but a win is expected nonetheless. It's tougher than expected. The problem for Indy was not in Ellinger. He did a relatively solid job considering the circumstances. Indy's self-destruction came at the hands of everything else. There are fewer things that fell faster than the Colts' offensive line. Maybe the Berlin Wall, but at least they had to work to take that down. The Commies' defense managed to show up and embarrass them anytime they got close to the red zone. Jonathan Taylor's a top running back in the league? Oh, not with how badly he's been fumbling opportunities as of late. But even then, despite continually tripping over themselves, the Colts have done just enough to secure a lead. The defense is carrying big time, but the offense can't budge. There's one more drive to hold on with a 6-point lead. However, they made one deadly mistake, doubting Washington's resolve.
Heineke looking. Heineke. They keep the play alive again. He flips it downfield, and McLaurin, the hometown kid, hauls it in at the 1-yard line. What a grab!
Grown men. The eternally underrated Terry McLaurin with an amazing grab. Taylor Heineke's body made of grit sandpaper and has at least 100 dogs in him. The same can't be said for Michael Pittman.
What is Sam Ellinger going to do? Over the middle. Oh, it's dropped.
That was a dime right in your fucking lap. How the hell did you drop it? That may have won Indy the game if you got it. But alas, the Colts are doomed to wither and die. How the hell is Washington at 500? Don't count your eggs until they're hatched. Everyone remember that old fable read back in elementary school? Washington and their fans forgot all about it. Things were looking up for the Commies early on. The stars were aligning in their favor. Their defense was stuffing Minnesota with both fists after an opening TD drive. Under the might of Taylor Heineke, he would control the referee to interfere with a defender to allow Curtis Samuel to score a touchdown. His unsung and gritty power would guide Washington to a 10-point lead. Hailing of Heineke and taunting of Kirk Cousins ran rampant. I bet you liked that, didn't you, Washington? You probably also liked this brutal interception by Heineke to give the Vikings prime field position. Maybe they also liked that touchdown to Dalvin Cook to tie the game. The Commie offense shuts down while Minnesota methodically eats clock to win. Don't forget to add a brutal penalty on the first field goal attempt to eat even more clock beforehand. Remember the moral of the story. Don't count your eggs until they're hatched. The Vikings just let you know why. Washington, you can hate Dan Snyder all you want, but you're tied at the hip with that fucker. Forgive me if I take the news of him looking to sell with a pinch of salt. He'll only sell when he's backed into a corner and needs funding for a new stadium that'll go to shit in 20 years. Lo and behold, we might know why he is. Like a rat, he scurries away when the feds are opening an investigation into his bullshit. Dan should have learned a long time ago to never fuck with the money. He broke the first rule of finance. Don't even let him sell, just strip the damn team from him. It's been decades overdue. Many a hater have claimed the Eagles to be fraudulent. Their schedule is paper soft. They've had no real test to prove themselves thus far. The hater waits for their downfall to an opponent they should crush and celebrate the occasion. In this game, they may have had a point. Credit the commies for concocting a solid offensive strategy. The art form of hold on to the damn ball for as long as humanly possible. They had possession for over 2/3 of the game, and the Eagles defense just couldn't make a damn stop when they needed to. It's hilarious. This is a team that's being investigated by DC's Attorney General, and team lawyers threw Brian Robinson in their statement in the ultimate whataboutism. The Eagles can't punish this faux pas, as A.J. Brown had the ball ripped out of his hands. Philly is unforgiving to failure, and they boo their team as they fall behind at half. Immediately falling a half to go down by 2 scores, even worse in their eyes. There are reputations to maintain, damn it! Look at this touchdown drive and see the Eagles' potential for yourself. Washington doesn't have to counter in kind. They'll gladly throw an interception to give Philly a chance to lead. Begin the great conspiracy of Philadelphia. This critical fumble should have never been called. Zebras missed a blatant face mask on Goddard on the play. Fortunately, the defense stiffens up and only allows a field goal, but it still stings. Take 2 on the comeback drive.
He's done it twice in the NFL. This one a shot. Watkins a diving catch. Ball comes out.
Jesus, man, just lie down and fight another day. No need to play hero ball when you're playing Washington. With Philly about to get the ball back, this can't get any more embarrassing for them, right?
They're going to throw on 3rd down and 7. Instead, Heineke wisely, and now a flag. Wow. And that's going to, in essence, end the game.
An undefeated season in the balance, and you're going to end the game like that. Right call or not, if I'm those officials, I'd hire extra security detail to escape Philly. There's a good chance the majority of the city now wants your heads lined by the Rocky statue. You know what else I'm hearing? The 72 Dolphins live on for another year. 50 years of lordship over a populace that doesn't care. Pretty impressive, I'd say. The tank of tanks is an impenetrable specimen. An immaculate amalgamation of everything suck. In Houston, it rolls along with impressive resilience. They call their creation the Bryce Young. Look at this first half and be amazed at its awfulness. 5 yards of total offense. -1 passing yard. As many first downs as they threw pick sixes. 1. With such a showing, we can only look on in amazement. Washington will be handed the easiest win they will ever get and take it with a smile on their face. Taylor Heineke has given the commies the jolt they've needed to revive their season. That's why he's taken over starting duties from Carson Wentz. Don't look now, they're in striking distance for a playoff spot. All in a day's work for the Houston Texans. A true inspiration for tanking teams everywhere. You know, if it weren't for their executive branch, the Washington Commanders would be one of the most likable teams in the league with their locker room and players. The way Taylor Heineke uses everything he has to lead his team despite his limited abilities, it's admirable. Marcus Mariota hasn't been too bad himself for Atlanta. They're stopgap QBs, but they still give their teams a chance to win most of the time. This is going to be a battle. We can confirm that, as we can also confirm the exaggerated death of the Washington defense. Atlanta simply benefits from... Jesus, that's a terrible ball from Heineke. Fortunately, the commies seized the means of offensive production on an early second half drive to give them the lead. But Joey's sly and kick inaccuracy is the human corruption that ruins their utopia. Begin a great defensive struggle for both teams, where the punting is furious as both sides dig into their trenches. Down by 6, Atlanta blows the whistle to go over the top. They will make their final charge on their enemies. They'll do it with big passes to get into field goal range. They'll do it with the running game to get into the red zone. Sadly, we all know the curse that befalls their franchise.
Mariota, the pass, it's deflected in the air! It is picked off potentially by Washington! It is! It's Kendall Fuller!
You can't escape from the stereotype, Falcons. You have opportunities, you will choke them away. Even when you think you'll get another chance at a win, Atlanta suicide charges into the punter. First down, Washington. Game over. Falconing so pure that you'll choke on its toxic fumes. Despite the win on the field, the yells keep coming for Washington. It's a day ending in Y. Time to dig Sean Taylor's corpse out to use as a shield for their bullshit. It's somehow been 15 years since his tragic death, and a permanent memorial is being revealed in his honor. It can't be as bad as his jersey retirement ceremony, can it? Everyone's faint optimism for this died within 5 seconds. Washington took a wireframe from the team store and called it a tribute. Such scrupulous attention to detail that he's wearing a Nike jersey with Adidas pants. They've apparently been planning this since June. It may not be a statue, but I'd certainly have one commissioned of them for being Lolcow of the Week. They seem to win this award pretty damn often. Dan Snyder can't sell fast enough. Welcome to Topsy-Turvy World. It's a place where a matchup between the Giants and Commies has serious playoff implications for both teams. This is the first big matchup that these two have had against each other since Week 17 in 2016. Washington will want to make sure that result doesn't happen again. Unfortunately for them, New York is keen on staving off a losing streak, and despite their limited abilities, they want to one-up a division rival. The result is a tightly knit neck-and-neck affair. One where it's not the prettiest of matchups, but both will work hard to achieve the glories of victory. The G-men force a fumble to push the envelope. They even find the end zone again to secure the lead, but they can't break through to secure a victory. It's a rugby scrum if there ever was one. Every inch is precious, yet no real progress is being made by either team. It's a stalemate led by either good defense or shitty offense, depending on how you view things. But Taylor Heineke has moxie. He will unleash his power of having 10,000 dogs in him at a moment's notice. He'll make clutch throw after clutch throw until the inevitable happens.
And now Heineke over the middle, it's Dotson. Dotson spins, whoa! To the end zone, touchdown!
The game is tied thanks to incredible individual efforts. Despite this momentum, neither team can do anything with it. We must endure a round of overtime. It will be full of stalled drives, punting aplenty, and neither team able to power through the grind of no man's land. However, New York has a chance to overcome such adversity. They reach field goal range with time winding down. All they need is Graham Gano to send them home.
From 58, Gano's kick is short. Oh!
The ball took that literally and came up just short. We must sacrifice this game to the gods for the almighty tie. Neither team really deserved to win, so we just kicked the can down the road. The ultimate conclusion to this storyline is conveniently in 2 weeks. It's all for ratings, I swear. The playoff push is reaching its final stages. Only one spot has been clinched by Philadelphia, but 4 weeks remain. Philadelphia obviously has number 1 seed, but the division is still up for grabs. Minnesota, after an ugly loss this past week, is still 2nd seed, and the NFC North is technically secured as well. The torrid pace of the Niners has them starting to run away with the West in 3rd place right now, but the NFC South is best not discussed. Tampa Bay only has it because the division is straight up awful. Meanwhile, Dallas is sitting pretty with 10 wins and first wildcard. After that, it's a mosh pit. Washington and the Giants are currently tied at 7-5-1, and Seattle struggling to maintain form with an easy schedule. Detroit's creeping up though, and don't forget the rest of the garbage in the NFC South still has a chance. The picture will become clearer as time goes on, and as we all know, there's only one rule to follow.
Don't get eliminated!
This is probably the most critical matchup of the year from a playoff perspective. We need part 2 since last episode ended on a climax. Gotta keep the audience hooked, you know. For the G-men, they need to rebound after a rather lengthy skid. Strip sacks by Kayvon Thibodeau tend to help out with that. Driving down the field with efficient offense tends to help with that. It's 14-3 and New York is cruising into halftime. However, controversy takes center stage. The wondrous might of ref ball and Washington's implosion overtake this throwback to the 70s. One of the softest offensive pass interference penalties you will ever see on a two-point conversion. After that, Joey Sly happens. As the game continues on, stalled drives force a field goal. And returning to the red zone, a devastating fumble by Heineke forces the end of a long drive all its own. Now down by 8, it's do or die time for the Commies. They will push down the field, as is written, and solve the labyrinth of the Giants' defense for a crucial touchdown. Never mind, it's penalized for illegal formation? They still call that on whiteouts? Nope, sorry Washington, you're going to be forced to eat shit because Taylor Heineke isn't talented enough to overcome all the elements. And to add more salt in the wound, Curtis Samuel was draped on the final play of the game. Ref ball reigns supreme. But that doesn't explain everything. Washington pissed away a ton of chances. The Giants really didn't win, but the Commies lost it. It's probably going to cost them a playoff spot. I don't blame the NFL if they tried to rig it. I'd rather have the New York market than cater to Dan Snyder. We've had quite a lot of teams reach playoff land this week, didn't we? It doesn't mean we're anywhere close to settling how things will shake out. Philly still holds number 1 seed and can clinch their division with either a win or Dallas loss. Minnesota and San Francisco both clinched their division since there's no elite team rivaling them in division. It's only positioning they're playing for. They won't have to worry about Tampa Bay. They are ass. And their division is even more ass. Please delete it from our existence. The winner of this shit pile will probably be hosting a playoff game against the Cowboys. And we will wish for death. The other 2 wildcard spots are currently held by the Giants and Commies despite the G-men winning last week. Seattle is falling hard while Detroit is rumbling back into the picture after being left for dead. Green Bay hangs on by a thread, and so does the rest of the NFC South. This is going to be quite fucky, isn't it? Everyone left, you know what to say. I know it was a perfect opportunity for Washington to win with everyone else losing, but did anyone really expect them to this week? The Niners have been destroying all those that have the misfortune of crossing their path. They will offer no quarter, they will not grant leniency. There will only be complete annihilation. Teams don't roll off 8 wins in a row by accident, and the scourge of the Bay Area showed us why here. There isn't much to decipher in this one. San Fran was just a significantly better team, in nearly every aspect of play. In many ways it felt effortless for the Niners. And this wasn't a cakewalk, the Commies were riding decent form beforehand. It meant nothing since nobody could do anything to stop the onslaught. Taylor Heineke was on a short leash all game. He was promptly yanked to the sidelines after a series of fuck-ups. Because as we all know, hell hath no fury like Carson Wentz in garbage time. Easy win for the Niners today. Good work to keep pace with their rivals. With a few big losses this week, the NFL playoff picture has become a mosh pit, as has been written for time eternal. The NFC East is still the same scenario as before. Winning clinch for Philly, and that includes the number 1 seed. If Dallas loses once as well, they are doomed to play as a road team in the wild card. The NFC South is still the division that should not exist, and Tampa Bay can seal it away with a win against the Panthers. If Carolina wins, though, we continue down the chaos timeline. New Orleans is still technically alive, but will need a lot to happen to win the South. With wildcards, Dallas most likely will be headed to the NFC South winner. The Giants still sit comfy a game ahead of Washington for the 2nd spot, with the Commies taking last seat for now. With Detroit and Seattle both losing last week, Green Bay can bullshit their way to a postseason berth with a few more things happening in their favor. But they need the Lions and Seahawks to keep losing. The Saints can also clinch a wildcard, but it's an extreme long shot. But it's a shot nonetheless. And if you have that, you can still chant the rule.
Don't get eliminated!
Washington has never been known for wise decision-making, but this week may have truly taken the cake. Last week's failure forced a QB conundrum, and Ron Rivera chose to salivate over arm talent. Carson Wentz is back in the saddle. Carson Wentz is starting an absolutely critical matchup where he's going to be relied on to throw the football. What did you expect was going to happen? He shit the goddamn bed. It's the same thing that got him booted out of Indianapolis. We're watching the death of a starting career in real time. At least it better be the end of it. If you can't do much of anything against Cleveland's defense, 3 interceptions, do you just do this for your sick kicks, Carson? Is watching Deshaun Watson lead a team to victory a fetish of yours? It looked like a mistake at the time, and every fan knew it. The team responded to Taylor Heineke, not Wentz. Even if Taylor has limited talent, he led them to wins. Something Carson cannot do. Worst of all, it may have fucked them in the playoff push. They no longer control their own destiny. This game plan felt as half-assed and rushed as Washington's new mascot. You seriously didn't call him Commander Tutty? Man, you guys suck.
To clarify, you said you would talk about quarterback next week. If you guys are eliminated today by what happens at 4 o'clock, is Sam Howell in consideration?
We can be eliminated.
Yeah, if the Packers beat the Vikings, then you guys are eliminated.
Wait a sec. Did you just say that you had no idea your team could have been eliminated from playoff contention this week? Dude, a trip onto any amateur NFL playoff scenario website could have told you that elimination was possible. Yes, get pissed at the reporter for asking the question. It doesn't excuse you from your utter lack of situational awareness, Ron. I know something you'll find on your riverboat, sir. A good, healthy heap of lol cow of the week. I need no further evidence of my claim. Just like you starting Carson fucking Wentz when the team responded to Taylor Heineke. Good news for you, man. The formula was perfect for the commies being executed. Get the fuck out of my sight! We can only hope this is the last game of Dan Snyder's reign of terror on the reskins. Everything that worthless rat has touched, he's completely fucked up. On-field meddling, to off-field headaches, to the damn good culture, to a fiasco with Frank Herzog not being invited to Sonny Jurgensen's jersey retirement. They were only partners in the broadcast booth for a long time, nothing crazy or anything. It's a goddamn miracle that the actual football team can do anything of note on the field of play. Or is that because the Cowboys are using this as a dress rehearsal for another hilarious postseason loss? Losing in embarrassing fashion to a team starting Sam Howell, a rookie in his first career start? How did he look infinitely better than Dak did? They can't even make the excuse that there was nothing to play for. The Cowboys looked as checked out as a team like Washington should have been. And the disturbing part is that Dallas played a team very similar to how Tampa Bay will look next week. And they have Tom Brady. If they fail, Mike McCarthy's gonna turn into next year's Thanksgiving turkey. The Carson Wentz roller coaster is quite comparable to what the commies went through this season. First, the rickety wooden box takes you down to a terrible start. That so-called elite defense being caught in a dust-up of injuries and ineffective offensive play to a 1-4 start. Then you begin to climb to the top of the hill. Wentz being conveniently injured so Taylor Heineke could shine. Not the most talented player in the world, but the team rallied around him. Running back to relevance in the fringes of playoff contention thanks to the 10,000 dogs he unleashes every game. Not to mention that defense coming back to form. But as they all say, what goes up must come down. All hope must be thrown into a black hole by the hands of who the fuck else? Carson Wentz. They benched Heineke for him in a must-win game. What did you expect to happen? Ron Rivera saying he knew the commies could have been eliminated? Spoiler alert, they were. And Scott Turner was thrust upon the sword for whatever the hell this season was. Hopefully it's the end of the Dan Snyder era, but much dumber things have happened. Much dumber things. Don't worry if things don't go well in the offseason, Washington. Snyder can always exhume Sean Taylor's corpse for the 32nd time in some half-assed attempted tribute. It's too late for justice. Dan should have been booted out of this league 2 decades ago.